Now, here's the host of Good as Gold, Nick Grovich.
Hi again, it's Nick Grovich. I'm live in Phoenix today. If you have some questions for me or want to join the show, it's always nice when you call in with questions about specific coins, about the markets, anything on your mind to do with rare coins, common coins, gold, silver, platinum. Call me at the station at 602-324-1510. If you have questions about your specific portfolio, call the office at 480-553-5282. So we've been doing trivia questions the last couple of weeks, which I've had fun thinking them up and listening to the answers. But the problem is, I think some of the questions I ask, people are just going to the internet and typing it in and finding the answer, and that's cheating. I want to know if you actually know the answers to these, and if you've already won a prize, let's give somebody else a chance here this week. But I'm going to ask a little different question today that I think would be harder to get on the internet. I'm going to give you an example after I ask the question, but there's certain years, usually it's the first or second year they make a coin, where they'll change the design or they'll change something about the coin. Sometimes it's because of public outcry. Sometimes it's just something going on at the mint or the economy that makes them change it. And so what I want you to give me two different coins where they had a design or intrinsic change in the coin, that is from one metal to another, or some kind of design change. So just as an example, and this is not the first or second year, but in 1942, that's when they started making nickels out of silver. During World War II, they needed any kind of metal like nickel or copper they needed for the war. So they actually, in 1943, start making the pennies, the cents, out of steel instead of copper. So everybody's probably familiar with the old steel pennies. That's what they made in 1943, was a steel penny. 1942, getting back to the question, they made a Jefferson nickel. They started making them out of nickel, but they ended up the year making them out of silver. They're 40% silver coins. So they're kind of a dark, really kind of an ugly looking coin once they got worn. But, they were more worried about World War II than they were what the nickel looked like. So that would be an example. 1942 nickel, they made them out of silver, and they also made them out of nickel. Now, that's not the first or second year, but it's just an example. And there's dozens of examples. So I want somebody to give me two examples. And what should we give them? We'll give them a certified Silver Eagle today. We'll start off with that. So we'll give you a certified NGC or PCGS Silver Eagle. They retail for right around $30. So if you have the answer, give me a call. There's a lot of different coins you can choose from, and I brought along my red book of U.S. coins just to double check in case you give me something I'm not thinking about. As you may know, gold was up pretty good today. We were up $18 this morning when I got up. I think it's still up $17. And, it's strictly based on the dollar. The Fed, again, came out and really didn't say anything much about the interest rates. They led people to believe that they're going to put that off a little while longer. The Dow was up. I don't know what it ended up, but it was up well over 100 points earlier when I looked. And gold was up right along with it, because if interest rates go up, that's supposedly bad for gold, good for gold and bad for the dollar. So the dollar's down a little, gold's up over $1,200, which is really a good sign. Gold needs to hold over $1,200 if this thing's going to turn around anytime soon. But, if you've been watching gold this year, it's just been stuck in a little trading range. Maybe it gets down to around $1,170 and it gets up a little over $1,200, and it's just bouncing in that $30, $40 range. Really just, it needs to move one way or the other to get this thing moving. So, when they come out with when they finally do raise interest rates, they've made it pretty clear they plan on doing that. They've made it clear that they want to do that at least one time this year. I think earlier they were talking about more than one rate increase this year. So now the so-called experts are expecting either September or December they'll raise interest rates a little bit. What effect that'll have on gold or the dollar, I don't really know. I mean, today's kind of an indication. Today they put off the interest rate and gold went up $18. I mean, honestly, I don't get too excited about an $18 move. If you're buying gold and you're worried about $18 move, you're probably you're just in the wrong market, because gold can fluctuate $10, $20 a day and go up and down $50, even $100, and not really make a big difference unless you're buying an awful lot of gold. So whether they raise these rates or not, I think for the most part it's already built into the market, and I don't think you're going to see a huge reaction from gold when they do raise the interest rates. But obviously, by today's movement, that is a positive for gold. And like I said, I think it's more tied to the dollar than tied to the effect of the interest rate hike on gold. So one thing I wanted to talk about today, I've talked to some clients this week, and they've been talking more about rare coins. The reason I'm talking about coins more lately is that the gold market's been so flat and pretty much boring. There's just nothing been going on in gold and silver that much the last couple months. So there's not really a lot. I can't dedicate a whole show to what's going on in those markets right now. But if it's something you want to talk about, just give me a call here, 602-324-1510. So I thought I'd talk a little bit more about the rare coin market today. There are quite a few studies out there. I mean, there's 3 or 4 different studies out there where you may have seen them. You may have had dealers give you copies of them. You may have seen them online on PCGS. And there's studies on how rare coins have performed as investments over the last 30, 40 years. And as you can guess, most of the studies that you're going to find online are very positive about rare coins. PCGS, according to their numbers, the coin market's up about 40% since 1994, which would lead you to believe that it's been a pretty good investment. But you have to really dig deeper into what that means, where they're getting the numbers, and that type of thing. So what I want to do, I want to talk about these surveys a little bit. I'm not going to go into great detail, but some of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're reading some of this material that's out there. I know the one survey I'm going to talk about was actually done by a professor at Penn State, my alma mater. So I kind of hate to pick on him, but we're going to talk about that too. We're getting ready for a break here, so if you know the answer to those questions, jot it down and call me after the break, and we'll be right back in just after these ads.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Okay, I'm back with you. I wanted to talk about some of the studies and the direction of the coin market and maybe give you a little more clarity on this. But first, we've got a caller. Hi, this is Nick.
Hi, Nick. This is Eric. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Eric.
Hey, so I got your question about coins that have changed after the first year.
Right.
And I've been collecting and studying coins only for the last couple of years, but the question you bring up is a very interesting one. So I'm going to give you first my favorite example, which was the Standing Liberty Quarter in 1916.
Right.
As you know, when she first came out, she was bare-breasted. The American public wasn't ready for that, so by the next year they overreacted and gave her chainmail to wear instead.
You're exactly right. That's one of my favorite examples. Actually, it was a pretty extreme change. Bare breast one year and covered with metal chainmail the next year.
That's right. So, but it's still a beautiful coin. Another example they made is an example of the change they made, and they didn't even wait the whole year. So I hope you give me credit for this one, and that was the 1909 Lincoln penny, where the sculptor, Victor David Brenner, put his initials, the VDB, on it. And some people thought that was giving too much credit to the sculptor, so they took it off within just a couple weeks, I think, which leads us to the 1909 SVDB, one of the best pennies of all time.
Yep, you're absolutely correct, and you picked out probably two of the most well-known examples of that. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'll give you two other quick ones that I can think of. Wasn't it the 1913 Buffalo nickel that the date would wear off, so they lowered the date?
They lowered the date on the 1913. What the main change was on the reverse of the coin. They had the buffalo on a mound.
That's it.
And then partway through the year, they changed the design of the mound. They I don't even know how to explain it, but they made the mound smaller and made the words a little larger. They changed the design slightly on it.
The mound, right? Exactly. So that was a great question.
Well, terrific. I'm glad you knew that. It sounds like you really got into the coin collecting. That's great.
I did. It's a lot of fun.
Eric, I'm going to have Ashley get your name and address, and we'll send you out a silver eagle.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for the show. You do a great job.
Well, thank you. So there's at least another dozen examples I can think of off the top of my head that fit that answer the question. So if you know of some of the other ones, Eric answered probably the most well-known three, but there are lots of other examples. So if you know two of the other ones, call in. I've got more silver eagles to give out, and we'll see if we can't give away a few more. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit was some of the studies that are out that are promoting rare coins. And before I do that, I just want to add, I'm not trying to push rare coins on everyone. I really don't believe rare coins are right for everyone. But for those people who do like rare coins and do, like Eric obviously enjoys the coins. So, for somebody like that, they're going to get in, they're going to enjoy it. That's the main reason to buy rare coins. And of course, when I was a big collector, I still collect coins. But when I was a collector before I became a dealer, it was always more fun to collect coins that had a chance of going up in value than down in value. So, I'm trying to give you some kind of criteria to look at and show you some of the things to watch out for, because what happens is you see these studies and they overgeneralize. I think they kind of fix the numbers. I think they fix the coins that they put in some of the studies to make the percentages look a lot better than they are. But it's the same thing as saying, oh, art is a great investment because a Picasso just sold for $140 million, and then you run down to the local, one of the art shops in Scottsdale, and you spend $5,000 or $10,000 on whatever type of art you like down there, and then 5 years later you're wondering why you can't get your money back out of it. Well, if you buy the right types of art, just like the right types of coins, you can do very well, but you can't just go out and just say, I want to buy rare coins. You've got to do a little more work than that. So one of the studies I've talked about before is the PCGS 3000. And what that is, PCGS has taken 3,000 different coins, and they have done a price survey from 1970 to the present. Now, when you look at the 3,000 coins, because there is a list, it's not real easy to find, but if you go to their site, you'll see it'll say PCGS 3000 down underneath the graphs. And if you click on that, they'll actually show you the list of coins that they're looking at. And I noticed that, it's a fair representation. They do all the type coins, so all the Barber, Seated Liberty, all the different types of silver coins. They include all the different types of gold coins, Buffalo nickels, Mercury dimes, all the different dates of silver dollars, all the commemoratives. But then they include a lot of very rare coins. They include very rare date 20 Liberties and some of the very rare gold coins. They include coins that are probably, some of the coins are probably worth $500,000 to $1 million. So, if you throw $1 million coin into the mix and that coin does well, that really skews the whole average quite a bit. And I notice a lot of the dates that they monitor are the rare dates, which typically are the coins that have the best chance of doing well. I mean, if you buy the rarest coin within a series, that's generally the coin that collectors are going to want, and generally the coin that's going to go up in value. So when I look at the coins they picked out, I think it's a little skewed towards actually picking out coins that are most likely to show increases. But the thing that I don't like about it is if you look at their numbers, according to PCGS, coins have gone up 6,509% since 1970. And that sounds really spectacular. And when dealers start quoting that, that kind of increase, people get pretty excited. They, it is. I don't think they cheated. I think they used real numbers. I don't think it's anything like that. But there's two flaws in that. And the first one is, which coins did they select? Did they use a cross section of the entire market? Did they weight it more towards the coins that actually have gone up? That's one thing most people don't know. There's another survey by this Penn State professor, and in his survey, at least the material I have, it doesn't say anything about the coins that he surveyed, except they were MS65s and MS63s, which I don't know. Did he just pick a handful? Did he do a cross section? I'm not sure what he did. And the second part that really, I think, throws off the balance is that they don't deal with the grading changes and they don't deal with markups. Earlier, I told you that according to PCGS, the rare coin market is up 41% since 1994. So you might be sitting there thinking, gee, if I just bought rare coins in 1994, I'd be making 41%. The problem is you don't know what pricing they're using. So PCGS uses, I'm guessing they're using their retail prices. And to give you an idea what that means, I just sold a 1914 proof set to a client of mine for just under $24,000. According to PCGS, that set's worth $36,000. So you can see there's a little bit of, quite a bit of difference there between what the set was actually sold for and what PCGS says the coins were worth. I mean, that's darn near a 50% difference in price. So that leaves a little wiggle room to make prices a little better than what they may be. But the biggest thing is the grading change. Most of you know that PCGS and NGC started in 1986. Before 1986, we really didn't have any well-regarded, any well-accepted grading standards. You had the ANA, which is American Numismatic Association, did some grading before that, but there was nothing really that was industry-wide that was accepted. So when PCGS and NGC came around in 1986 and standardized the grading and started certifying coins, they really firmed up and changed the standards for grading. Now it looks like I have another call, so I'll take a break and take this call. Hi, this is Nick.
Oh, hi, Nick. This is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
I got a answer to your question about the two other coin changes.
Okay, terrific.
The first one is the 1793 penny, the first cent that the U.S. government had created for circulation.
Right.
And they didn't like the scary Liberty face look, and they also didn't like the chain on the back. They believed that was a symbol of bondage instead of a unity of the states.
Right.
So they changed it to the Liberty cap. And the next coin would be the 1878 Morgan dollar. On the reverse, they had originally 8 tail feathers.
Right.
And it was determined that the eagle actually had 7, so they changed it.
That's
midway
correct.
Through the year.
That's correct. Those are two good ones. Those are I made a list of the most common ones here, and those are both on my list. You're right. The 1793 large cent, they had a chain on the reverse, as you said, and there were 13 links in the chain, and it was representative of the 13 states showing unity. But when you look at it, it does look more like bondage than unity. It's just a chain in a circle, and it was kind of an ominous looking coin. So they changed the reverse to a wreath. And you're exactly right on the silver dollar. They had the 8 tail feather reverse and the 7 tail feather, and they actually had a third one, which was the 1878 7/8 tail feather, where they just took the new die and stamped it over the old one. So that's another variety. Jeff, thanks a lot. Those were great answers. I'm going to have Ashley get your name and number and send you a Silver Eagle, and we'll be right back after this break.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Okay, I'm back with you. We had 2 callers answer my question correctly, but just on the list that I made up on my way to the station, I have another at least 10 coins that fit the criteria. So it's getting a little harder because the easy ones were already mentioned, but if you know some of the other ones, there's still some real easy ones on the list. So if you know 2 more of them, give me a call. I've still got some Silver Eagles. I'd love to give them away. I'm really happy there's collectors out there who know these things about the rare coin market. So I'm talking about these studies, and the second study that we were talking about is a Penn State study, and this professor did a study from 1979 to 2013. And it's kind of interesting because some of the things he says contradict things that PCGS says. According to this Penn State study, MS-65 coins have averaged 12.2% increase over that time frame of 1979 to 2013, while MS-63 to 65 coins averaged 10%. And he goes on to say that in the 10-year period, so he was ending in 2013, that rare coins had gone up every year for the previous 10 years, which really contradicts what I know about the market. And like I said, if you look at what PCGS, if you look at their graphs, you'll see they have a big peak in 2008 that's been selling off since then. I mean, 2008 was the most recent high in the rare coin market, and we've been falling steadily really for the past year at least. So what I was getting at is the grading is where I think the big flaw is in most of these studies. I don't know where the Penn State study, I don't know where he got pricing. I don't know which coins were in his study. It's a pretty basic study. The thing that concerns me about it, and I don't know this for a fact, but I suspect that one of the big coin dealers funded it, because on the front of the page that I got with the study is a dealer's name on it. And so I always question, if a dealer funded it, did they provide the information to reach the conclusion that he reached. But when you get to the grading, that's where all the fuzziness comes in. When PCGS and NGC standardized grading in 1986, it was a big deal in the coin market. And PCGS was the first grading service. NGC followed quickly on its heels. They both did wonders. I don't want to give you the idea that I dislike either one of them or I have anything bad to say overall about either service. They both do a great job. They're widely accepted throughout the country. I mean, if you buy coins and they're not certified, you're just asking for trouble. If you buy an NGC or PCGS coin, you can be guaranteed that the coin's going to be saleable at the grade that they say the coin is. I mean, they're accepted anywhere in the United States, and at this point, a lot of Europe and even over in China, those coins, if you find dealers that deal in U.S. coins, they will accept PCGS or NGC coins. So the standardizing of grades or quality was a big deal, because that was always the biggest problem. You'd buy a coin that was MS-65 from one dealer, and you'd take it to the next dealer, and he would say, no, it's an MS-63, which could be worth a third or a half of what the MS-65 coin was worth. So you could see the advantage or the incentive for a dealer. A dealer selling a coin would always give the coin the highest possible grade, and a dealer buying a coin, of course, when you're buying the coin, you want to buy it at the lowest grade, or even, and I'm not saying they're trying to take advantage of people, but if somebody comes in with a coin that's either worth $10,000 as an MS-63 or $25,000 as an MS-65, and the coin's not certified, unless it's a real solid MS-65, most dealers aren't going to stick their neck out for that $15,000 risk. They're going to want to buy it at a grade that's safe, that they're comfortable with, that they're not taking a big risk on. So that was the problem, and both certification companies really solved that problem. But coins that traded before 1986 were graded by the old standards, and going all the way back to 1970 really created a problem, because back in 1970, there were only two grades of uncirculated coin. A coin was either an MS-60 or an MS-65. And, some dealers were using MS-67 if the coin was just phenomenal and had great eye appeal and just was terrific looking. But you went back there in 1970, you had two grades. And when I look at PCGS's PCGS 3000, where they list the coins, a lot of the coins that they're supposedly tracking the price of since 1970 are grades that didn't exist in 1970. So how do you track a coin that's graded MS-66 today and figure out what that coin was worth in 1970 when we didn't have an MS66 grade. They have coins graded MS63. They have coins graded MS67 and Proof 67. None of those grades existed back in 1970. So the only way that I think you could get a really accurate look at it, and maybe someone's done this, I don't know, would be to somehow track coins that have been in auctions, where you could go back, some of these big auctions we've been having lately. You could actually track what was paid for that coin, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and see what it sold for today. And that would give you a real accurate look at what that coin either went up in value or went down in value. The problem is, typically, if you're looking at coins that went at auction, you're looking at the best of the best, because let's face it, the coins that have been in multiple auctions, they're in auctions because they're either really rare or really high quality. So again, even doing that, it's going to skew it towards the coins that really did do well in appreciation. But that's the biggest problem, and just to give you an example of how much that could change the appreciation. Take a $5 Indian, for example. If you bought a $5 Indian back in 1970, and you bought what was considered an MS65, that's a high-grade uncirculated coin, you might have paid $500 or $600 for that coin. If you look at what an MS65 today, a certified MS65, it might be worth roughly $7,000, $7,500 today. So you'd say, well, gee, that's a pretty nice appreciation. You did very well on that coin. The problem is the bulk of the coins that were sold as MS65s back in the 70s probably don't grade out much more than MS62 or MS63 today. So now you're talking about a coin that went from $500 or $600 to maybe $800 to $1,000, maybe $1,100. So now you're talking about a coin that went up 100% in 40 some years. That's a lot different than 6,500%. The other thing that the surveys don't take into account is the markup. So what they're doing is they're looking at either the retail or wholesale price, but they're saying, if they're looking at retail, they're comparing retail to retail, or they're looking at wholesale to wholesale prices. So they're either looking at the bids or the asks on the coin. But somewhere in between there, the dealer made a profit when he sold it, and the dealer made a profit when he bought it. So what I was getting at earlier when I said that PCGS says that coins have gone up 41% since 1994, if that's true, and it probably is true, you're probably lucky if you're breaking even at this point. What you're going to find is on the more common coins like St. Gaudens, $20 Liberties, silver dollars, those coins you could, if you use a little bit of common knowledge and do a little homework before you buy, you could probably buy those coins for 10% more than what they're worth. By worth, I mean what they're saleable back into the market for. So you might have a 10%, 15% spread to make up before you break even. But what I find is the more rare the coin is, the more that percentage markup, or the bigger the difference between the bid and ask tends to be. So you start getting into super rare coins where maybe the bid's $50,000, you might end up paying $75,000 or $80,000 or $100,000 for that coin if it's a really really rare, really sought after coin. So now all of a sudden, you've really got to see a big increase in price before you start making a profit. So that's the one catch if you're getting into rare coins. There's a couple things. Number one, you have to make sure you're really buying rare coins. And I can tell you, most of the coins that I see advertised in flyers you get in the mail, or that are hawked over the phone by brokers, most of those coins, in my opinion, they're not worth buying. They're just common everyday coins. They're not really, for the most part, they're not really selling you the super rare, the super collectible coins. So you have to determine, number one, what really is a rare coin. What's a classic coin? What's a valuable coin to collectors? What's most likely to have a market? And then the second part of that is you have to do some work, or at least have a dealer who's going to share with you what the coins are really worth in the marketplace. So they might show you the certified coin dealer newsletter. They might show you past auction records, that type of thing. And with some work, you can do that, but unfortunately I find a lot of people, unless they're really, really into coins, they don't bother to do that. They just take the dealer's word for it and they buy the coin, and then they wonder why they never make money. So the reason, and I'm not going into great detail about these studies, but I like to bring it up because I get asked that all the time. Someone will call me and say, well, I read this Penn State study, and he's a professor at Penn State, and he's got a lot of credentials, and he's saying coins have gone up. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons I stopped recommending coins to my clients back in the 1990s. All the statistics said that coins were doing great and people were making money. The problem is the people who are actually buying coins weren't making any money. So, I guess I like to look at the practicality, what's actually happening, not what does a study tell me is happening based on faulty data. So it's really important. It's really, really important to keep that in mind when you're getting the sales pitches. There's another survey. It's actually a market index that's done by the Coin Dealer newsletter. If you're not familiar with that, I'll go over this a little bit more. We're coming up on a break here. The Coin Dealer newsletter is a weekly publication that comes out. Every dealer in the country uses it, and I'll talk about that a little after the break.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Nick Grovich, I'm back with you. You still have time to win another Silver Eagle or two. There's still a lot of coins out there that fit my criteria. Even if you know some coins that weren't the first or second year of issue, I'll still give it to you because there are some coins that they changed 5 and 6 years into the making of the coin because of metals prices changing and things like that. So I'll be very generous. If you get anywhere close, I'll give you the Silver Eagle. I was talking about the Coin Dealer newsletter. To me, if you're investing in rare coins, if you have $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 in rare coins, heck, even if you only have $3,000 or $4,000 in rare coins, the Coin Dealer newsletter is used by every dealer in the country. Now, I say that, and maybe there's one or two dealers who don't use it, but for the most part, every dealer in the country uses the Coin Dealer newsletter, and more importantly, the certified Coin Dealer newsletter. They are out of California. You can look them up online, or you could call the office, and I'll be glad to give you their address. I don't remember what it costs, $150 or $175 a year. I guarantee you, if you bought $1,000 worth of coins, you paid your dealer more than that in markups. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. Even if you look at it once or twice a year, it's easily worth double or triple that amount of money to you. You could also buy a single copy for $5. And no, I don't get anything if you sign up for the Coin Dealer's newsletter, but it's just something that I don't understand people that spend $50,000 on rare coins and don't have a pricing sheet that every dealer in the country uses. So anyway, they have a coin index also. Now their index starts in 1990. I think their index is probably about as accurate as anything you're going to get because it's based on real prices. It's based on prices that dealers pay for coins. And if you look at the overall index, if the index was 1,000 in 1990, that's where they start at. Today it's at 985. So what that tells you is prices are overall just about the same today as they were back in 1990. They dropped down to a point where they were below 700, so they were down over 30-some%. So I guess what I'm saying, they have come up from the bottom, but not every area has come up from the bottom. They break it out into, I think it's 12 different categories, and they show you which categories have done well and what the percentage is of increase since 1990. So the best area is Morgan dollars, and that's at 1298. So what they're telling you there is you had nearly a 30% increase in Morgan dollars. Now they're counting all the different grades. They're counting the rare coins, the common coins. So everything's wrapped up in that. So even if you look at that and say, oh, well, Morgan dollars are the place to be, you still have to do more than just call and say, I want to buy Morgan dollars, because you'll probably end up with the common coins, which brought that average down, instead of the really rare coins that brought the average up. Other coins, you look at gold and silver commemoratives, they're almost half of what they were back in 1990. And what you have to remember, 1990 as a starting point, there's a reason I think they picked that. That was right after a market crash. 1989 was the peak of market, and by 1990 prices were down anywhere from 50 to 90%. So I think they probably thought they were starting at a low point. But nevertheless, I think that's a very good starting point. It gives you a real honest look at the coin market. And I'm looking at the Coin Dealer newsletter here. They're saying right on the front page that coin prices have been dropping steadily since August of 2014. They go on to talk about certain coins that have dropped 18% just in the last week. And of course, as you read on, they go on to tell you about coins that brought ridiculously high money at auction too. And whenever you see the coins that are breaking price records, again, it's always the very rare, very desirable collector type coins that do well. So there's information out there if you take the time to look at it. And I guess that's all I'm trying to say is don't just look at one survey or one chart to make up your mind. There's a lot more that goes into it than just saying, oh, gee, rare coins did well, I better jump in and buy rare coins. If you're buying rare coins, I'd love to help you. I love rare coins. I just don't recommend it to the average person. I think for the average investor, you have a couple $1,000 you want to spend. Unless you're really, really interested in the rare coins, buy some gold eagles or some silver eagles, buy some bullion type coins and stick them away. It's much easier to know what you have. You don't have to take the time to learn the market. You don't have to, there's just not the work involved in something like that. What so many dealers do when they do these surveys and studies is they start off with their conclusion already made, and then they try and find the facts to support it. So they start off and say, well, we want to show that rare coins are the best investment, and then you find the facts that make that look reasonable. When I was in college, I had to do a study for one of my economics professors in college. And it was a lot of fun. In the end, we determined that there was no way to figure out what we were looking at was worth. So the government paid all this money for a study that was totally worthless. I didn't get paid for it. My professor did. But what I learned was what you have to do is you can't have the conclusion already in your mind. You have to go get the facts, put all the facts in there, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and then see what it tells you. And that's why in the 80s, from 85 to 89, I had as many clients as would listen to me. I got into rare coins, and that was probably the best rare coin market in history for the average person. I mean, everything went up. MS-63 Mercury dimes, which are coins that are common as common as dirt. Those coins went from $20 to $150. I mean, today you can buy all you want for $15. Silver dollars, MS-65 silver dollars went from $70 to $1,000. Today you can buy them for $125. So it was just a very different market. I can't go into that right now. I'm going to run out of time. But again, by looking at what was going on in the market and constantly looking at the new information and trying to figure out what it was telling you, I got my clients out in 1989. I sent out a letter. I had it published by Dr. Gary North in one of his newsletters. And we gave all the reasons and got our clients out in 1989. Well, by 1990, the market dropped 75 to 90%. In the mid-90s, again, I didn't like telling my clients to not buy rare coins. I'm a rare coin dealer. I love rare coins. But what the facts were telling me was that rare coins were a terrible thing to be buying in the 90s. And here we are, 24 years later, and that information was great. It's not because I'm a genius. It's just because I was willing to look at what the facts were and not try and manipulate them to say what I wanted them to say. So, if you love coins, you want to be in coins, give me a call. I'd be glad to guide you, give you some more information on it. One thing I will tell you, if you are talking to a dealer, and there's a lot of good dealers out there. I mean, there's some really rotten ones, but there's a lot of really good dealers out there. But if you're buying some rare coins and you want to know what the coins are actually worth, you can call my office, 480-553-5282, And whether it's me or one of the guys, we'll be glad to look up your coin, tell you what they're worth on the Coin Dealer newsletter. We'll be glad to look them up on the Certified Coin Exchange, tell you the auction records. I'd much rather give you the information before you spend your money than have you call me later and say, well, I bought this coin. Did I get a good deal? Because most of the time I'm giving bad news. So take advantage of that. There's no charge for that. Mention that you heard me say that on the radio. A lot of times, we charge $500 an hour to do appraisals for banks and trusts. So mention the radio, and I'll be glad to look those up for free for you. That brings us just about to the end of the broadcast today. I'm a little surprised going back to my question, I'm a little surprised nobody talked about the $20 St. Gaudens, one of the most common coins out there that every investor and collector has been probably offered. In 1907, there's actually two of them. 1907, they had the high relief coin, and then they had the flat surface coin. The high relief was so high it wouldn't stack, so they changed to a flatter coin. 1908, they had the motto and no motto, so it said, "In God we trust," and not "In God we trust." We'll see you next week.